All right, episode 111. Today we are going to be talking about the one threat that could wipe out over 97% of real estate agents over the next 4 years. We're going to get started right now.
Oh no.
Welcome to the only real estate podcast worth listening to with your hosts Nick Good, Matt Kelderman, and Brian Force. Combined, they have 26 years of experience and have sold over 1,500 homes. Join them each week as they bring you everything you need to know about real estate. And now, here are your hosts, Nick, Matt, and Brian.
I don't know who that is.
It wasn't.
Was that mine?
It is you this time.
Was it? Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. All right. Episode 111. Today, we are going to be talking about the one threat that could wipe out the need for real estate agents over the next
war.
4 years. Right? This is going to be a good show. I'm definitely interested in this.
I'm excited about this one.
But today's show is sponsored by Justin Nelson over at Sphere Rocket VA. If you're needing a virtual assistant, go connect with Justin. Just so go to sphererocketva.com, as well as if you're needing a loan officer here in Texas, right? You're a Texas real estate agent. Maybe you're getting licensed. Maybe you've got a client that's relocating here to Texas. Connect with Mortgage Mike, mortgagemikeoftexas.com. He's an amazing lender of ours that we're all using. We're all happy. 5 stars. Go check him out. And go to iTunes. Leave us a 5-star review, even though the last couple of times we don't deserve 5-star reviews on there.
You don't think so?
Fuck no.
You actually watched this show?
I listen to it. I don't watch it because it's a podcast on that one.
Okay.
And the last show had our kind of back and forth bullshit talk when we think we had a hot mic.
Yeah.
Thank God we didn't say
I don't
anything
think you
awful.
said anything too bad.
Nothing. It was just me and you, which,
Yeah.
you know, Kelderman's back today. He kind of levels this show out.
If I'm the one who levels this show out, we're all in fucking trouble.
So, and then the time before last, we uploaded an episode that had no sound to it.
Oh,
No audio, no sound.
it was ASMR.
Yes. I only know that because of Hattie.
Do you really?
Yeah. I don't
Your
understand it. I don't
stepdaughter
get it.
watches ASMR videos
Yes,
to relax.
she used to. I don't get that.
It's
stuff.
like a meditation.
I did get stuck for like 5 minutes watching somebody cut soap the other day.
Did you really?
Yeah.
So
do
ridiculous.
you guys remember that viral video of the dude getting in a fight in a bagel shop a few years ago? It was the short guy.
Yeah, the short dude.
And
Yeah.
They did an ASMR video of that, and they dub it all over, and everybody's whispering like this, but they're just as intense about it. Because at one point, the guy's like, "You're not my wife. You're not my mother," and he's like, "You're not my wife." And then at some point, the fight breaks out, and this one guy in the back is like, "I just wanted a bagel." And it's so hysterical. I don't know. It's one of those things that you never thought would be funny until you see it, and then you can't stop laughing, dude. It's so good.
I love it. All right. So go, and then last, go over to our Facebook group, the only real estate group worth being a part of. There's a poll or question or kind of a comment by Lo, who says, should we be doing a tax strategy show?
We call that a forced pull.
Forced poll.
When Lowe just injects himself into the poll and
Yeah.
just decides.
So he's requesting that we do a show on how myself, my brother, I guess we don't pay taxes or something like that. Legally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So if you want to learn how that's how we're lowering our tax rates, right? Threshold. Let's put it that way.
Sure.
Right. And then you want to listen to that, then go over to the only real estate group worth being a part of, request access, comment on that, so we have some more interest in it.
Some more upvotes.
Yes, upvote that. And let's bring on Brad McDaniel. So Brad, he had messaged us. He's a friend of Matt Johnson, who's been on the show.
Friend of the show.
Friend of the show, right? And Brad did this teaser, right? He did this opening line where he was like, "Hey, I've got this interesting trend, this alert, this threat that over 97% of real estate agents could be wiped out in the next 4 years." So,
Seems about the right amount that needed.
yeah. And we were like, cool.
Almost
We're like, tell us more because we
feels
want.
like that would be the even amount that you
Yeah.
need to serve people.
Yeah, and
But-
and Brian and I assume that we're the 3% that remain, right? So
depends on what wipes us out. But.
yes. Well, I mean, if it was a nuclear, winter, then we just need a bunker. We've got the food and toilet paper.
I like being outside too much, dude.
Remember when Nick started prepping at the beginning of COVID?
He super did. How's all that going? Do you still have all your materials?
No, we went through it.
Yeah.
Here's the
Doing
thing.
what?
Well, I spent the money on it.
He had like MREs and stuff. You just eating those?
But don't you remember how it was? Like before we prepped when no one was talking about it.
Yeah.
And then once you really needed it, when lockdown happened, we're like, fuck it, I'm going out. Like, that's how I am. I'm just going to go against the grain. Got us where we were. So Brad sent us that email. Brad is an entrepreneurial and technologist with over 15 years of experience in product management, design, development, sales, and business leadership. He's founded 2 startups, Real Agile in 2007 and Likely.ai in 2018. So Brad, welcome to the show, man.
Hey, man, thank you very much for having me. And are you sure you don't still have some toilet paper somewhere? I mean, come on.
If it is,
Deep, probably, right?
if it is, I'm not telling you because I don't need anybody. We've got plenty of guns at our house. I'm not telling you where it is.
Don't go to his lake house, though, because he just won't let you use it.
Yeah, exactly.
No showers, no washing dishes.
Nick will invite you to his lake house with the promises of fireworks and fun, and then tell you can't shower or take a shit ever. The whole 3 days that you're there.
You got a preference.
It'll
what that
spring that on you
Yes.
when you're already there.
Here's the thing. Would you rather shower or shit? I give you
I'd
2
rather
options.
go to a lake house that I don't have to make that choice. I didn't know that's what we were getting into.
Well, I guess we could buy our own lake house.
Yeah.
I guess that's fair.
Exactly.
It makes a marine.
Yes. So Brad, tell us, other than that quick intro, that bio that I told you, that I shared with everyone, tell us a little bit about what makes you an expert in the space. And then let's go with that threat that could wipe out 97% of agents in the next 4 years.
Yeah, well, guys, thank you very much for having me on. See some interesting stuff with the lens that I kind of see the industry through. Thanks to running Likely.ai, I'm always looking at data. Didn't plan to do that for my life, but now that's kind of where I am. And because of that, I see things that others miss, probably just because they're not looking. Otherwise, they would see them. And what I saw was something pretty simple. At least I thought it wasn't going to be this dramatic. But, I was just comparing kind of productivity stats of agent sides. So take Redfin versus EXP, Compass, kind of thinking, okay, how are the next gens doing? Is anything that's really stood out to me? And when I looked at, Redfin doing so well with about 42 transactions per agent in 2020, and, then you think EXP and Compass, these other guys have a lot of money, kind of momentum going, would be somewhere similar. They were at 6 or 7 transactions each. So it's like, wow, that's big. Why? You pull up the traffic, monthly traffic to the sites, and Redfin's, about 85 million uniques roughly, right? And EXP is like 1.6 and Compass is 6.4. Okay, that makes sense. Redfin's like a website. So what does that mean if EXP, if Redfin was just really, really successful and decided they took over the world and hired every agent that they needed to handle the 5.6 million transactions a year? Well, they'd only need 53,000 agents, right? So that's 89% of the industry just wouldn't be needed. And I'm like, okay, that stat I didn't expect. But now, who's the other big guy in the room, and how much different would it be? Well, take Zillow, because of all the different real estate and digital assets, and they get about 302 million uniques a month. And so if they had agents that could be as productive on a per unique percentage of unique volume of traffic per month, basically you'd only need 43,000 agents rather than 153,000 agents. So that's 97% of the business. You need 43,000 agents. That's it. And that they're good at streamlining things. And so when I saw that, I said, all right, could that actually happen? It won't happen like that, but it could. And we know that Zillow is famous for, always doing what they say, like they were never going to be a broker. So, they probably never actually go into taking the retail side. But maybe they could, because they've had 3 consecutive profitable quarters, right? And that, from the premium agent business, that's paying for everything else they're doing. And so at some point in their constant, in their constant effort to grow revenue, they're going to say, I need more than just a referral fee. And what happens at that point, right? Okay, well, then now they put a bunch of money into the iBuyer side. So they have an investing arm. And they say, I want all of the retail side. Well, they cut off the leads. They say, okay, they double down, and they either anoint agents in each market, and they're going to be paying. They basically work for Zillow in some manner, or they hire 10,000 agents, or in this case, 43,000 agents very quickly in some way. But it could easily see that there is going to be something that happens that drastically reduces the number of agents, that there's enough business to make it a viable business for them. And I think that with the, kind of the push in 2020 towards everyone doing everything digitally, it accelerated that productivity, right? And so that's going to continue to go. That was a good hard push. And so what do we have to do to help the industry, right? Well, okay, help them find leads other places. That's great. But iOS 14 just hit and kind of annihilated the cross traffic especially for the special ad category. What does that mean? It means the lookalike audiences are awful. I don't know how much you guys have been doing recently, but I mean, we're getting, people that are 95 years old, disabled, and like, man, is someone pulling a joke on you guys? I'm like, I think so. It's Apple. They got us, So it's increasingly becoming more challenging to source new business opportunities online. And if we, as an industry, become reliant upon the portals, there's going to be some inflection point where they will have all of the power, and that's increasing by the day. And
so just to understand, so you're saying the eyeballs, the traffic that Zillow's getting, right? What you said, 302 million unique visitors a month.
Yep.
Right. And if they just said, hey, I'm going to open up truly as a brokerage, and they offer the iBuyer, the lending, which they have, the title company, which they have, right? And then just got some decent agents in there, then we're gone.
That's it. I mean, think about them streamlining their internal systems. I was there. They're really good at that side. And, it's dealing with all the offline stuff that usually is where the messy parts come in, right? And so if and when they decide to make a bet there, and, maybe the acquisition of Showtime might be a step in that direction, right? That there's going to have to be more investments done, but eventually something's going to happen to where, the people that control where the eyeballs are, if that is the top of the funnel, then it's going to become increasingly more challenging for individual agents, teams, or brokerages to source leads, business digitally. That's as simple as it gets. And fortunately, a lot of the portal business is the buyer side, right? I mean, it's real estate porn, giant, beautiful pictures of $2 million homes. Everyone buys the $300,000, $400,000 home. So there's a lot of traffic that doesn't transition into a deal. But because it's all on the buyer's side, and the market, as I think you guys were talking about the stats a couple of days ago, but I mean, we're at 1.57 million starts this year. There's a 5.5 million home gap between what can be consumed. So even if somehow builders found a way to build 2 million homes a year, you're still talking about years of it being a seller's market. So that puts a little more power back into the agent side, because the portals don't have as much. It's what's your house worth, right? So now it gets back to that relationship. It gets back to the ground game. And that is one thing I'd love to talk about today is just like with this knowledge of going, okay, if this frame works, right, that, it's going to be a buyer's market for a while because we know that, home starts are not as high as they need to be because all the reasons from commodities to just the capacity to labor, no one wanting to work and build. And that there is this trend occurring that if where the online portals wanted to make a switch, a huge percentage of the agents are just gone. What can we start doing right now in order to kind of hedge to ensure that our teams are fed, right? That our brokerages survive and thrive. That if you're an individual agent, you can continue to have the lifestyle that you enjoy. I think it really comes to being that local expert, being that person that's there at the right time to be a valuable asset to someone that's in kind of a transition period of their life. Like, what do I do? They're driving, down the road and they're seeing for sale signs, but they start noticing the name on the for sale sign. They start have questions. They walk into a diner and they pick up the newspaper. They're not actively there, but they want to know what their options are. And maybe they tried going to Zillow and gotten called by 10,000 people, and they don't want to do that again. Well, at least not until they're ready to actually talk to them. But you have an opportunity to get in front of that, right? Kind of beat the click, and using things that our products like what we can offer, as well as a lot of other techniques. And I'm happy to talk through some of the ones that don't involve our technology that agents can start doing today, can start to build that moat around their business, so they're not as susceptible to a quick change in the market, like what we discussed earlier.
Ooh, that's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
Where do you guys want to start?
I mean, so you kind of mentioned it in what you were saying, but let's talk about the steps that agents can take to hedge their bet.
That's
right?
not a fun way to have this conversation.
No.
Let's do all the other shit first.
Yeah.
We're just getting into
Let's talk
what
about-
can agents do to find?
Well, let's talk about the 97 that go to business. Where are they going to go to work? Where are they applying? What jobs?
Okay, let's talk about this entire. I have a lot of questions. I'm gonna ask some. So where do we want to start? Do we want to start with the conglomeration of competition? Do we want to talk about the feasibility logistically of changing the entire cultural zeitgeist? Do we want to talk about the socialization of the real estate industry as a whole? Do we want to talk about the hyperlocality of real estate services and the expectation by buyers and sellers? Is a lot. So let's start with this, right? So you're saying essentially, and I think that you are definitely onto something, right? That essentially real estate technology companies like Redfin, Zillow, that never claimed to be brokers until they were brokers, but started as technology companies, they've built a better mousetrap, right? And they've consumed, and they have built, thank you. There we go. They've built a better mousetrap, right? That puts more eyeballs in the fish tank every single month, right?
Yep.
I agree with that 1,000%, right? As far as the thesis that we would all, or 97% of us would go out of business, which I don't think is far-fetched, I want to understand more about the process by which that would happen in the next 4 years, right? For example, if we have some of the largest largest companies on earth in places like Keller Williams, Remax, everything owned by Realogy, right, is a great example. You see this in the financial industry. Why wouldn't you just see conglomeration between some of the largest brokers in the industry that would just go ahead and become institutions of their own, that go ahead and build an even better mousetrap to compete, right? Like, we're in this premise, Zillow and Redfin and the people that are at the top of the food chain as far as eyeballs in digital marketing right now, just annihilate everybody without them going, hey, why don't we just join forces because we also provide great real estate service?
That'd be too smart. Too easy, too smart.
So that right there, but how would that not be a factor?
I love that angle, actually. It's expensive. Use the analogy of what is happening in the streaming industries, right?
Okay.
What is it? What is setting them apart? Why do you choose one streaming service over another?
It's the rights, content rights. That's why Disney Plus had 50 million subscribers in the first week.
Yep. And what are they all investing billions of dollars a year in?
New content?
Unique content.
Content.
And so unique content is very expensive, and it's one of the only things in a commodity business, like, let's say, real estate. Listings are a commodity, right?
Mm-hmm.
If that's what people are going there for.
Sure.
Okay, then what do? SEO. Okay, so then you write about the market and you write about the local area. But after a while, that all kinds of starts to be the same. So how do you win the SEO world? You have to have unique content.
Sure.
So what is unique content in real estate, right? Was it what Compass is looking to do, where they're saying, hey, there's listings that you could only find here?
Right.
Maybe, right? Maybe. Or is there something else? I don't know what the answer would be, but for I think Keller Williams is obviously has a lot of market power, right?
Sure.
And there are a lot of agents. The reason why agents would leave the industry is it's not a business for them anymore, right? That's the reason. They're all independent contractors. They don't have to do this.
Sure.
They probably have other options. They probably do other things on the side as well.
Were you able to break down on the Redfin statistic? Because I agree with you 100%, and I'm not saying like a ton of us don't get wiped out, and quite frankly, I think a lot of us deserve to.
I just like, here's the play, guys. Hey, watch out, guys, and let's.
Yeah. But I think it's an interesting point that you make about listings being unique content. I'd be interested to hear about the 43 sides that Redfin agents do and what the percentages were of buyers and sellers there. And the reason that I ask is I would compare a situation like that to like the lending world, right? So the lending world, you have who's the biggest lender in North America right now?
Quicken.
It's Quicken Loans, and it's not even fucking close, right? And who are the people that are most likely to get approved by Quicken Loans? Stable, W-2, same job since you were 6 years old, right? Like you've got to be a perfect buyer to be able to be approved by Quicken Loans. On the listing side, right? I don't doubt that Redfin agents are doing 43 units a year on their own. I don't even doubt that a lot of those are listings. What I am saying is that it is one thing to sell with Redfin when nothing ever goes wrong, and there's a small enough contingent of people that actually work on the agent side for Redfin right now that I believe that their stats are 43 units per agent, because I think Redfin has attracted enough business that it's just knocked down either kind of investor style listing where we're putting on, we're getting offers no matter what, or there was just not enough to navigate through the transaction process that even a part-time salaried agent like Redfin could handle it. I think when you talk about the hyper locality of real estate service, meaning that people want to work with people that know, not just that they know, like, and trust, people that know the market inside and out, right? I think that's hard to really make it just universify is the word that comes to mind, but it's not true, right? But what I'm saying, you never let me finish my thoughts. But what I'm saying is that
it's like a 10-hour long thought.
It's really important to the conversation. But when we talk about the listings being unique business, I would venture to guess that it's more difficult to continue to take listings for someone like Redfin past a certain threshold, because once you get into deals that actually require problem solving and nuance and an agent that is working their ass off because they're not a salaried position, you're going to see a lot of sellers opt to still have a full freight commissioned agent. And it's been proven by the last 10 years.
For right now. But but what Brad was saying is, here's the thing. It's the unique eyeballs. So 302 million on Zillow. They trump everyone else, right? By far.
By order of magnitude. 2 orders of magnitude.
Sure.
So if they have that and they work on the continuing
those are also the same eyeballs.
It doesn't matter. It's still a sheer numbers game when it comes to the number of people looking on there, because there's only, 5.6 million home sales?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, something like that.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter. They have the majority. All they have to do is continue collecting data and information. Then you start collecting. It takes a couple of big influencer names in the real estate world in each location and metro area, right? You pay them the most, whatever that may be, like a Mark Spain. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And their marketplace.
Yes.
They start taking it, and then you have more agents that follow.
Right.
They get lesser split because they're getting those leads.
Yep.
Now their cost acquisition, plus they're owning. Mm-hmm. One thing we didn't talk about, I sent you this article, and I don't know if you looked at this, Brad, but Open Door and hedge funds are buying up properties so quickly. By the way, they're not coming back on the market.
That's a bigger threat. I get that.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah,
so we're now also the true threat is that now we're going to actually lower the number of home sales that are going to be available every single year, because they're no longer coming back on the market,
right, because
the hedge fund companies are owning them. Then you've got the Zillows, right? You've got the Open Doors, and now we become a rental society, which is a complete that happens in the next 5 to 10 years.
Well, it won't happen in the next 5. It won't even happen in the next 10. But we could, man. Y'all want to do a long one today? I already had a 3-hour conversation about this exact scenario, which I don't think is on the table. I agree with that too. What I'm saying is I agree with you as well about the Zillow thing, right? That all you need is some big names in every locality, right? And you're going to work essentially on a higher split basis. This is exactly what Realtor.com does with OpCity right now. What I'm saying is, when we're talking about the most extreme scenario here, like 97% of real estate agents getting wiped out, well, we're implying that we all now, known in turn, don't work with Zillow, as in we now take a higher split on Zillow provided leads and things like that. We're talking about a scenario in which we actually work for Zillow, which is different, because now you get into man, we can talk about this. Kind of goes back to, say, universal healthcare versus what we have in America right now. You get into the motivation conversation, which is right now to be successful in real estate, right? I have to do X, Y, and Z. I have to build a business, blah, blah, so on and so forth. I only have unlimited opportunity because of the way the industry is currently structured, right? If you go away from that and everybody essentially becomes a worker bee for a certain salary, the people who are the talent in this industry would go do something else for a living. And then what would that do? That would continue to open up gaps where people are not going to enjoy the institutionalization of what is supposed to be a service that is provided as hyper local and hyper personal to them, like navigating the difficulties of a difficult transaction, things like that. What you would see is a fishtail, right? Let's just say this, everybody went to work for Zillow tomorrow for $45,000 a year, and there were only 3% of the real estate agents left, and that's what they made. And Zillow and Redfin ruled everything, right?
I just the only one part I would disagree. Sorry, I'm jumping in, but the part I would disagree with is I don't think that they're going to be W-2. I'm just saying that the efficiency would be on par.
Sure.
And so take EXP, the rapid growth of EXP, or Compass turning, VC dollars into agents, right? I mean, that's what they're doing. They're buying those agents from a Compass perspective with all kinds of perks, and EXP is showing, hey, agents don't need offices as much. So if they offer a better set of tools than EXP, and if the commission splits were the same or better, why not?
This is the reality. And I appreciate you saying that, because the 97% of agents going out of business may be true, maybe not. I think what is much more likely to happen is, like, let's just call it 50%, right? 50% of agents that are already living on the fringe probably go out of business. The rest of us, in some form or another, probably work on a lower split or lower commission per transaction basis, because we are essentially becoming, take it, a human being, and now you're a human being with robot arms. But the robot arms were provided by Zillow, but they're a lot stronger and they cost a lot more, right? And so now you have to work for less per transaction, but you're probably going to do a higher volume of transactions. It is very, very likely that we see half of the real estate industry go out of business in the next 5 years. I've been saying this for you guys forever, right? That we'll probably be working for less than 2% commission relatively soon. We also might be doing, if our team is going to do over 300 transactions a year, we might be doing over 1,000, because nobody else will be standing in our way. I think that's a much more likely scenario. I think that's an extreme example.
That's exactly right. I mean, that is exactly right.
I knew we all agreed.
That's exactly right, from the standpoint that this is a transitional phase. I take Rich Barton, right? He also launched Expedia.
Yep.
Right? And if you go back and kind of look at the timeline, kind of during this key launch transitional phase, April 1998, right? Yep. They launched Name Your Price, right? Man, that sounds a lot like Buy My Home, right?
Super does.
Ooh, right? And so at that time, what were they really fighting about? It was about bookings. That's what all these people were fighting about, is getting bookings on these flights. And if you say bookings are equal to listings, then we're damn similar to 1998 right now. If we were to wind it back, and if that transition maybe accelerates because of COVID and all the fun stuff that happened, and digitization, and everyone kind of pushing that direction, then that means we have 4 years. I mean, on the timeline, if we use the comparison of the two industries, and actually not just say, oh yeah, that happened to, travel agents, going to happen to real estate agents. But I actually look at the numbers and go, could it? If it does, when? Why?
How would you speak to, because I agree, I think from a formulaic standpoint, as far as attracting eyeballs and turning them into dollars and cents, essentially. But how would you approach, I would say, that the cognitive dissonance of booking a vacation is something that I'm not putting my own asset up for sale. I don't have an emotional attachment to it, right? Like, if I go and book a vacation, I have a bad time, I'll leave a bad review, right? When I'm selling my own home, it's a lot more important to me that I can trust somebody who I'm going to be hiring as a fiduciary to help me achieve a certain goal. I agree with the principle of what you're saying from a structural standpoint, as far as building those funnels. But how would you be able to speak to the intimacy, I guess I would say, that is existent in a real estate transaction that's not existent in booking a vacation?
That's 75% of people use the first agent they talk to.
Sure. They usually also know that agent.
You're right.
Personally.
Exactly. But it's not always, actually, because a lot of times there's things going on in their financials they don't want their friends to know about.
Well, sometimes we call them. So
yeah. Well, everyone hopes that's true. That
Sure.
obviously, that's why you do networking and all the other fun stuff. But
Yeah.
I get what you're saying. You're basically saying, hey, there's less risk than calling an Uber. You do it more frequently. You book a travel more frequently.
Right.
This is a once every 7 years, 12 years, 3 years, whatever the number is. And it's a big decision. And even though it is like someone who hires a financial planner. They just
Sure.
trust that you know more about. I don't know much about that
Yeah.
industry. Even though if I'm a teacher in physics or a professor of physics at college, whatever, like you're really smart, but I don't know the markets. You know the markets.
Really good point, man. I
so
appreciate
I'm
you
just
said
like-
that because here's the thing that you can compare this to the financial industry, right? People used to put a lot of thought and, for lack of a better word, pardon the pun, a lot of stock into who their brokers were, right, on the financial side. And it took 15 years probably to normalize the zero commission trades ideology. Like everything that we see in the financial markets now, it's starkly different than it was in the late 80s, early 90s even, or even late
So much.
90s, right? It also... It was a change in our cultural zeitgeist, right? And I agree with what you're saying from a formulaic standpoint that it could happen in the next 4 years. I think that you're also changing a cultural ideology around how we relate to the people that we hire as fiduciaries. And I'm not saying it can't happen, but I think a 4-year timeline gets extended to a 12 or 20-year timeline when you account for the intimacy between a seller and a buyer or in their fiduciary, which we can't continue to say real estate is a relationship-based business and fundamentally believe that, which I do, and then also say it'll all be over in 4 years if we don't build a better mousetrap. Because I do think that relational standpoint
absolutely.
makes it a
Then-
slower bleed.
Then how do
right?
you explain the donut hole effect in the industry where 80% of people say they'd use the agent they used last time,
And only 12% do, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, how do you rationalize? I mean, what it comes down to is like, man,
It's also
I can
just
geek
people
out
know
with you.
more
I
than one
love
agent,
stats,
though,
and I'll talk, and I love this conversation.
Sure.
One of the things that, if you believe this, that there's something going to happen, right? And yeah, I don't think it's going to be exactly, the black or white. It's going to be shades of gray, probably
Sure.
by maybe price points or kind of maybe locations. As a second home, all those things. I think there's going to be lots of shades. That's why that's like 97%. Like, damn, like, okay, so that's the black, and what's the white? Okay, and then someone going to be in here for that's just why real estate's real estate, right? It's
course.
always convoluted and kind of like crazy like that. So if we think that something's going to happen, like, how do we help agents today solve this? Like, what's the number one thing, in my opinion, that they can do is using and then again pulling on the insurance industry, turning their database actually into an asset.
Yeah.
So not only do they have what they've done what have you done for me recently? Oh, this is how many transactions I've done. Okay, this is how valuable you are to my industry. It's like, no, but this is my database. And so if you actually do that, agents they have to focus on it, put effort into it, which is hard when you're in a transactional industry, right? I mean,
Sure.
It's like you're always kind of getting the next deal and hunting and going, and before you know it, you got a database full of stuff that's probably inaccurate. You don't know what to do with it, but so you put on an email drip campaign. Oh, I'm doing my part,
Yeah.
right, or something to that akin. If you take and spend a little bit of money on maintaining a database, ensuring that it's in a place where it's your database, and if you decide to go to a different broker, it's yours. You then have an asset that is, like you said, most people want to use someone they know, right? You build a relationship, and we have one of our clients who has been using one of our products for the database refresh, man, and he sent out 2 invitation-sized cards. So twice a month, he would send an invitation handwritten stamp for like 99 cents from one of our partners, and he started getting all this inbound from people that he hadn't talked to in forever, and they call him basically like, I'm going to do business with you because you sent me 5 letters. Like, of course I'm going to call you because it's not a big shiny glossy card. Like, it's something that you connected with me. So whatever that means for your brand, like every agent's brand, that is what we have to get back to. That's how we beat the eyeball game.
Sure.
Is building something where you have a relationship again. And everyone knows how the game is played today, no matter what industry you're in. You're told, hey, work this, work that, automation. And so we see it all. Like, that's why we skip robocalls. That's why we don't respond to texts that look kind of funky. That's why we don't open up cards or envelopes that some credit card company say we're pre-approved for this amount. It's like, we know it's all a sham, right? And so how do you become authentic in an industry like this, and kind of where the trends are going? I think it's all about, I heard someone say this the other day and I thought it was awesome. They used the word frequency, but they meant it both frequency as far as how often you touch them, but also what frequency, like a radio frequency that you touch them on.
Sure.
And I was like, that's so right, man. So you have to start communicating on multiple frequencies in different frequency intervals based upon which one you're using.
Well, you just hit on something too that I think that I had an experience with today that I hope agents hear when, we're talking doom and gloom stuff. It's the automation mixed with the personal relationship that's going to keep you super relevant, right? The automation can kick off conversations, but your ability to come in and pick up that conversation and take it into the finish line or get them, you know what I mean? I had a lady today who reached out. She initially was contacted through some text message automation last month when her home came off the market, right? She was super pissed about all these agents who were calling her because she was an expired, right? So she got blown up. Well, so she just responded to the automation with anger, right? And I sent back, hey, I'm really sorry. I understand it's really frustrating. Explained to her why she was getting blown up, right? Because she didn't understand why all of a sudden her phone started ringing off the hook. She reached back out to me today. As we were coming in here to the podcast, I set a listing appointment with her. She reached back out because she said, you were the only person who explained to me what in the hell was going on. And I don't want to list within those people who I felt like was harassing me. Yeah. Literally all I did was pick up the automation that started the conversation. And agents, in my opinion, agents really need to embrace that aspect of our business where they can become more efficient and not compete with Zillow because they're not getting 302 million unique views to their Playster site every fucking month, right? But the reality
come on, you can dream, right?
But the reality is they can use automation to be more efficient in their business and then bring their personality to bear in those relationships and compete with, very candidly, what I think are, I will say this up front. I don't think agents go to Zillow and go to Redfin because they have a choice, right? Very candidly, I think they go there because they couldn't do the full-on entrepreneurial bit that it takes to be a real estate agent at a super high level, right? And I would put my skills to negotiate and build a relationship and get deals to the finish line up against theirs all day long. So I agree with you. I could see how some agents might slide over to that, but I also think there's still a lot of space for highly skilled agents to continue to do their thing and nurture relationships and have big businesses for sure.
Man, I grew up in the industry. I remember sold the story 1,000 times, doing the trifold and stuff when I'm 11 years old in front of a blockbuster Friday night movie with my dad to help my dad do his mass mailings, right? And it kind of stuck with me because there's so much work that agents have to do. To keep a business going. And so I understand how a portion would go off and say, okay, I'm just going to make this a numbers game and, just turn and burn. And other people build a business around, repeat business, I guess you want to call it, through the relationship. And I agree with you. I think that there's a big portion of the industry. Maybe it's the higher price point or a segment, or there's some type of niche, kind of like own that niche, what Micro Famous, I think was Matt Johnson's piece, become micro famous. Pick what you do and own it. Whether you give away a puppy every time you sell a home, or put your name on a bunch of lighters if you're going to be partying all summer long at the beach. I don't know, whatever it is, but like somehow connect with the people that are like you, and they're going to do business with you because that's what humans do. They want to work with someone that is like them. And there you go. That's my spiel. I mean, I can go on and kind of talk about artificial intelligence and how it's not as smart as a lot of people think it is, and kind of give you an analogy.
Probably going to be here a while if he starts on that. I'm going to tell you right now.
Brian will chew you.
I am super into that.
What about some of the, you kicked it off and Brian shot it down like a sad little duck out of the air at the beginning of this, but like, what about some of those things you were talking about, some of this actionable stuff, right? Because of course I definitely want people to look in the product you have too, but some of these tips that you can throw out there for agents, techniques they can incorporate in their business that, to help them not get gobbled up by Zillow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it comes back to from an agent, like if you take offline, however you have it, I think the database is probably still the core. Mm-hmm. And with that, I say, make sure you have one database. You might have, segments of your database in other places. If you're anything like the agents I know, you probably have, 3 or 4 marketing platforms and they're all your database, but you don't know which one's the master. So pick somewhere, say, that is my database, consolidate it there. And then say, okay, if I'm going to do digital marketing, it goes over there. If I'm going to do print, it goes over here. I'm going to do ISA calling and goes here, and then it all funnels back. So have one asset, make it an asset, right? Don't make it a fragmented nothing. The next piece would be keeping that updated. Keep it up to date, keep it fresh, nurture it. And when people say nurture, it means so many different things, right? I heard it said this way that, the only difference between contacts and contracts is the R, right? It's the relationship. And so you have to make sure that you're talking to them, not as an automated bot. I love your story about picking up the automation and carrying. Like, if you use automation, great, yeah, do that. Get them to a point where you can take over if you don't have the time, because I know most people don't have the time to do all the outbound that's required. But make sure that you're communicating with them on one of those frequencies that connects with your brand and with your demographic that you do the most business with. So I call that like smart segmentation. And then know when to spend more time, right? So it's not just, only talk to this group, but you have to nurture everybody. So keep it on some type of touch campaign that, there's 1,000 of them, right? We can look at, but then there's certain times when you need to lean in a little bit more and ask them up for coffee or reconnect with them over going to a ball game or whatever it is. And that's the part that, where you can do it sporadically. You can take letters of the alphabet and kind of knock off 2 people that start with that name, or whatever game you want to play. You can try lots of things. What I found works the best is leveraging something that's smarter than you, smarter than me, smarter than us at the nonlinear association of things. And that's artificial intelligence. That's I don't want to call it. I want to call it machine learning. A lot of people think that it's general intelligence and bots are going to take over the world and conquer everyone. Really, artificial intelligence is really good at pattern matching, classification, natural language processing, things that at scale, a human brain we're not great at it. We're just not. But they can be really good at it, and we can leverage that to kind of have it as a force multiplier. So we can then, like you did, take over when that automation component or like the artificial intelligence component reaches its limit. And so there's a small story that I like to sometimes tell just to kind of frame what I meant by artificial intelligence isn't as smart as what people think it is. Can I take a minute and just tell that story real quick?
Please, yeah.
So some of you guys might know it, but it's a kind of a classic story about a company called Target. Some of you guys might know that one. And the way the story goes is a father comes into the store livid. I mean, you talk about like, I'm going to rip someone's head off livid, right to the manager of the store, and just starts tearing up a new one. And the guy's like, I'm sorry, what do we do? And Target had sent his underage daughter a lot of ads and kind of newspaper pieces. This was like 10 years ago about, child baby things, diapers and, carriage. He's like, are you trying to say my daughter's pregnant? How dare you? Basically like tear them up. And the manager just tried to say sorry as much as he can. And then guy leaves, comes back 3 weeks later, a couple of weeks later, and hat in hand, walks up to the man. I have to apologize. I had an honest conversation with my daughter, and she is pregnant. And it's like, holy shit. Target knew your daughter was pregnant before the father did. And like, for any of us that have daughters, I've got 2. It's like, that kind of like hits you a little bit, when you're not expecting. And when you look behind the scenes at what they did, right, it becomes really transparent. And then after I say this, you guys are all gonna be like, well, of course, that's obvious, right? And of course, right? So what do they look at? Well, women that were on baby registries, how do you tell the difference between someone that's going to a baby shower or buying something for their daughter or friend or someone who's actually pregnant, right? Well, they saw that within the first 20 weeks of pregnancy, if there was someone on a baby registry, they bought large amounts of calcium, magnesium, and zinc. Basically, all those vitamins that women need. And they also noticed that at the beginning of the second trimester, they bought a large amount of unscented lotions in combination with 25 other smaller purchases. That is how they were able to build a classification model that provided a pregnancy score. Based on that, they sent out advertising because they found that was the one point when they could change a woman's buying pattern.
Wow.
Right? To kind of woo them over the top. And so They don't do it like that anymore because it got creepy. So now they mix it in. They got smart. It's with a bunch of other stuff. They don't want fathers coming to the store. But that's what all the stores do. That's why you type your little loyalty card number in anywhere you go, is because they're running models right behind you to understand what to offer you logistically and operationally, where to put lumber if you're at Lowe's, or that's how there's 1 day shipping from Amazon, because they have to get all those supplies to a place so that way they're ready for you when you're ready, right? And when you have all the data in a pretty much completely structured format and it's clean, those models work just as well as in the laboratory as they do in real world. And applying that to real estate, we had to go out and get data from 3,142 municipalities for the real estate data. We had to then get 300 million demographic files with 418 data points on them and put them all in the right homes and track them and everything else. Layer in all this macro market stuff like VIX index and weather patterns, and I can go on, all to then predict the appearance of a property in the MLS. And so because that's such a dirty set of data, we've spent years now going through it, building logic, classifications, all kinds of things, building lots of engineered features just so we can try to tell you when people in your database are pregnant.
It's pretty nuts. It's pretty nuts to think about, because you hear people all the time, like they're watching you and they're following you. And the second I talked about cheese, all of a sudden I had cheese all over my thing. It's like, no, dude, it's like they're tracking data from you every single time you do everything on anywhere. And it's just, it's all coming full circle and creating this consumer profile that, again, we can't really compete on. I mean, like an individual agent can't build that out on their own, right?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, that is why Zillow and them are winning, because they don't have just that explicit data. Like, I filled out a lead form, I want to talk to you. They have all that implicit data. Mm-hmm. You're doing here, you went there, you get one back there. It's like Netflix. You go and look at the title of a movie, but then you don't watch it. You come back 3 days later and actually watch it, or whatever, like those kind of patterns. Where then you look at, that's how they start recommending things to you, because it's not just that I liked or put that in my cart or whatever it is from an e-commerce standpoint. It's all the behavioral, pieces that they're watching behind the scenes. I mean, a lot of people go, wait, implicit, explicit, what the hell, Brad? You're getting like geekdom on me, man. Like, what's the difference? Simple terms of like dating, right? Explicit data is when I met my wife, she told me her name, and then luckily I got her phone number, right? That's explicit. That's what I got from her. The implicit data was what she was wearing, how she interacted with the group, kind of where she sat at the table. Those are the things you have to notice and then understand. Do you think she wants to talk more or not? Right? And those are the things that big portals, Redfin, Zillow, and someone else maybe we don't even know about yet, has able to gather and garnish the intelligence from that interaction.
And that's good. That's good. I don't have anything else. What about you guys?
So real quick, because I'm processing all this. So tell us how your company helps with that, right? Because when hearing all that, I'm going to tell you as an agent, I'm going to tune out, because it's like, it's overwhelming, right? If I am an individual agent, I'm just like, fuck it. I'm going to go.
I can't compete. I'm done.
I'm going to go send my application in to Zillow. Brian said 45,000. I'll take it. So what does Likely AI help with that? I mean, I know that we had Mike Cuevos on episode 109. You're really, you hit on that point of really nurturing your database, and everyone thinks they're doing a good job, but we all could improve. And Mike talked about, sending videos that people actually will watch to your database.
That's great.
Right.
Yeah.
So what does your company offer to help with this, to help, again, hedge our bets from being whatever percentage of going out of business, whether that's 97%, whether that's 1%, how do we set ourselves up to win?
Yeah, thank you. That's a great question. I think there's lots of great marketing automation, CRM, MarTech platforms out there. And so we didn't want to compete there. We know that most agents and teams use multiple. So what we did is we said, we want to be the intelligence as a service. We want to be the hub and the hub and spoke. And so to do that, we invented two products. The first one is, if you're looking to grow your market share in an area, We license likely sellers to you, and we update them every month, push them to you through a portal. You can export them in a couple of different marketing channel formats. So that way the friction between when we give you the intelligence and actually putting it into one of your marketing platforms is minimized. That is something that, teams, brokerages, people that want to dominate a market love and leverage along the path, and including like national lenders. That's how we started. That kind of want to get that pre-approval purchase money kind of before the listing. Along that journey, kind of building out nationally, we got lots of inbound requests going, hey, I only work my database. I would love to be more efficient working my database. How do I cultivate my database, more cost effectively? All those type of questions. And so we built our database refresh, which you can take your addresses, address, city, state, zip, include first, last name, whatever else, drag and drop it. You can literally from your CRM, you can hit export mailing list. Usually gets everything you want. Drag and drop it, CSV, Excel, doesn't matter. Then we do all the work, and you basically say, hey, give me a free report. Tell me how valuable my database is. We do a bunch of stuff behind the scenes, do a bunch of APIs, and we come back and give you a nice free report card. We tell you how many of the addresses that you submitted are valid and good and deduped. You'd be surprised. There's usually at least 15 to 20% that are bad addresses, at least. And then out of the ones that are good addresses, and then we're able to update and give you like 18 data points, who actually lives there, AVM, property characteristics, along with the likely seller score. And so the other parts of this report, we say, these are the people that have sold in the last 9 months, and give you a gross commission income with a commission piece you can kind of play with. So basically, how much business did you miss out on? Maybe you got some of those, but every single one of our clients that we've run this, they go, wait, there was that many that sold in my database, and I only got maybe 2 deals out of it, and I thought all my business came from there. So it's kind of a cold shower for you a little bit, but at the same time, it's that forcing function, right? It says, I got to do something better. And then the final piece that we show is, okay, out of all that, how many likely sellers are in your database, and what is the potential gross commission income for those guys? And if it's a good report, which sometimes they're not, don't buy it. If it is a great report, buy it. And then you can interact with it on a map. You can see if the last name matches the name that you think lives there, so you know who to change maybe the mailing label for, who to stop marketing with direct mail to. We just try to give you the tools to harness what should be your most valuable asset in the industry, and your one tool that can combat however many hundreds of millions of dollars are thrown at eyeballs. You can connect on a relationship level. And we wanted to bring that intelligence to you in a format that's affordable. So that way you can not just compete, but thrive.
That's a lot. So how do people connect with you, Brad? Because it's the database refresh, most agents are working that and really focusing on that. So how do people connect with you? Is it just going to likely.ai and then request that free consultation or the score?
Yeah. So if you're ready to try that right now, you just go to app.likely.ai, and that's where that tool lives. You can go to likely.ai and you can see, kind of learn about more and kind of see information if you want to get more information about it. If you don't like going to websites, you can go to, you just send us an email at more deals at likely.ai, and one of our people will reach back out to you and get you squared away.
Awesome, man. Well, we truly appreciate you being on. Go connect with Brad. Let's see what your database score is, and see what he can do for you. And hopefully you're not one of the 97%. So go over to the only real estate group worth being a part of, request access in there, as well as don't forget about our sponsors, right? This show is continuing to go on because of them, with their help. So Justin Nelson at sphererocketva.com. You're needing that virtual assistant who will help you clean up your database, that will help you stay in front from a marketing standpoint. Go connect with the old Justin there. He will be in town, by the way, July 5th. I need to connect with him, as well as Mortgage Mike. Brian, what about Mortgage Mike?
He is an amazing lender if you're in the North Texas area. You just trying to get me talk right now because I haven't talked in a while? I love to plug in Mortgage Mike. Personal friend of mine, friend of the show, an amazing guy, incredible lender. Go to mortgagemike.texas.com.
Breaking news.
That's after the show. Check out mortgagemike.texas.com if you're in the North Texas area. Man,
By the way,
someone's
birthday's tomorrow.
birthday is tomorrow, but I'm in a bad mood now. Y'all just wait. This could have been the best show we've ever done. Y'all have wasted this incredible man's knowledge so much. This shit's so basic. Brad, I want to connect with you so bad after the show. You and I are going to get along so well, man. I have so many questions I want to ask you. So much I want to learn from you. And these guys love talking surface level bullshit. We could go on for hours. I would be really interested. Two things I want to keep in your head for next time we talk. I would love to talk about, because this is kind of your field, the ideology behind different monetization sources. The idea that is there more money in selling residential real estate or selling proprietary AI information? Because I think there's a pretty good argument to be made that Zillow could build a better mousetrap through AI. Why wouldn't they just make that more proprietary and sell that to brokers, right? And I think that on a recurring basis, that actually makes them more revenue. I don't know the numbers behind it, but I think that's a really interesting conversation. I'd love to talk to you about the psychology of the transaction too, right? Like, I agree with everything you're saying about the standardization of the transaction. I also think there's an argument to be made that your local salon makes more than ProCuts, and that's because people will pay better for more consistent service, right? I just think there's so many amazing conversations we could have, and I would have loved to make this a 3-hour podcast, but every time I talk to Ron, these motherfuckers,
we'll do another one. How about
they
that?
shut me down, dude, and so I've just been quiet, man. But you're my favorite guest, and that's not a slight against any of the other 50 we've had on before. This could have been an amazingly deeper conversation, man, and I'm really appreciative that you at least came on today, man. I've had a blast.
Well, thank you for having me, and I let's do another one, man. I'd love to kind of take one of those other topics and go deep on it with you, man.
Hell
I
yeah,
agree.
brother.
I really liked your viewpoints and insights as well.
For
I thought they
sure.
were right on point.
Well, I thought you were
Appreciate
great too, Brad.
Thank you so much.
Some big dumb animal in the corner. So, anyways, man, thanks for being on. We truly appreciate you, Jesse.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate being on.
Yes, sir. Get us out of here. Thanks for watching the show today. Make sure if you're watching this on Facebook, you head over to our group, the only real estate group worth being a part of, so you can watch the extended conversation. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And if you listen on the Apple Podcast, leave us a review. We'd really like it. So just do it. Do it. Do that over there. Go to this one. Then go to that one. Thanks.